Happy Wednesday to you, and thanks for joining us in UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. Well, we are finally starting to see the snow die down a little bit, and Joe mentioned earlier in the week that we should get a bit of a break on Thursday. Now, Mother Nature may have other plans for some of us for Thursday, right, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, a few spots will see still a little bit of snow.
Yeah.
There's always, some spot. Seems like getting snow. But then I think by Friday, everybody gets in on dry weather.
Okay.
And probably Saturday and Sunday. So we're looking at a little bit of a dry stretch. The other thing that'll go along with that, Maya, is it's been cold this week. But we are going to see a warm-up on the way, too. We've been talking about that. It's taking a while, but we will eventually see that getting here as we head into next week. We'll show you a lot more on that a little later.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe. Our top story tonight is an update to a story we first shared with you last night at 11 o'clock. After 36 years, a family and the Grand Traverse County community may be one step closer to long-awaited justice. This afternoon, a suspect in the murder case of Linda Mateer was arraigned. Our Cody Bear was there in the courtroom and brings us the very latest information.
You have the right to have the attorney present during all subsequent court proceedings.
Nearly 36 years after Linda Mateer's body was found in Hoosier Valley and her death ruled a homicide, the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office has found a suspect.
Today, in 86th District Court, Stephen Gary Kuhn, 63 of Leelanau County, was formally charged and arraigned in court and in the case of the homicide of Linda Mateer.
The arrest comes after a renewed effort to resolving the decades-long cold case.
We took a real hard look at the case about a year and a half ago. We went through all the police reports, all the evidence.
Captain Chris Clark says Stephen Kuhn was labeled as a person of interest in 1989, and the relationship between Mateer and Kuhn was described as, quote, a casual encounter. Clark attributes new technology advances and some outside help to arresting Kuhn for Linda Mateer's murder.
We collectively, the Sheriff's Office, believe that the reason it is now is because of the dedicated detectives, the collaborative efforts with Western Michigan University Cold Case Program, the State Police Forensic Labs, and the advances in forensic sciences.
The Grand Traverse County prosecuting attorney says conversations with Mateer's family have been emotional.
It was just a roller coaster of emotions. Obviously grateful, happy that there was an end in sight, but also obviously this brings a lot up.
Kuhn pled not guilty and asked for bond, but the magistrate says due to the severity and nature of the offense and possible penalties,
I am going to, at this time, deny bond. The bond will be reviewed once again at the time of the probable cause and the preliminary examination.
And Cody is going to join us live now from our content center with more. So, Cody, I think something that really stood out to me about your story was you mentioned that Stephen Kuhn was determined to, or rather called a person of interest back in 1989 when the murder happened.
Yeah, I found that to be very interesting as well. And, Captain Clark didn't go super into that kind of thing, but did make sure to mention that, yes, he was first seen as a person of interest and first called a person of interest in 1989. And, of course, obviously there needed to be more to kind of back that up to get us to where we are today. But, yeah, that was the first time that he was named a person of interest by the Sheriff's Office.
And you did mention this in your story, but just to reiterate, why did it take so long for him to actually be arrested then if he was a person of interest for this entire time?
Yeah, it took a lot, and a lot of that was the advances in technology. And again, didn't go super in depth of what that was and what evidence there is. Can't really do that right now, but he did attribute a lot of advancement in technology. And something very interesting was, the collaborative effort that he mentioned and the collaborative effort with Western Michigan University, and some of their students helped with this. So it's very, very interesting.
So at this point, we don't know any sort of motive?
Yeah, they declined to really go into motive, whether they'll eventually, talk about it when it's necessary. And they mentioned, it's going to be up to the jury a little bit to kind of sit in that conversation rather than saying it all right now and any kind of motive and stuff like that.
And we really also don't know too much about the specifics of the relationship between Mateer and Kuhn, right? They didn't say a whole lot about that today either.
Yes, Captain Clark was asked what the relationship was between the two, and he did say, quote, a casual encounter. And I won't go too far into, what that could mean, just so I don't, misquote him or anything. That was just where he left it, was a casual encounter.
I don't want to do any speculating, but another thing that stood out to me in your story, we heard from the prosecutor, and she has been talking with Linda Mateer's family. Was the family there in court today? Did you get to see them at all?
So one member of the family did join over Zoom because, as you could probably see, most of it was virtual over Zoom. So one member of the family did join over Zoom, but that was all. But even Captain Clark also said he's been in contact thoroughly with a certain member who he didn't specify, but a certain member of the family. And, he said the exact same thing. There was a lot of emotion in the call when he did eventually say, hey, we made an arrest.
I can't even imagine after 36 years what that feeling must be like of finally having at least some answers, not the whole picture painted into exactly what happened and why, but at least who potentially did it.
Absolutely.
Anything else? I know there's still quite a few unknowns at this point we don't know, but is there anything else that we do know that we haven't talked about yet, Cody?
Really, a lot of it is that kind of, he said the sheriff's office is proud of the work that's been done, especially when there were renewed efforts really over the last year and a half, Captain Clark said, that have really pushed this and really used that extra technology, which I spoke with Clark last year, and he said, we have some confidence because of this advanced technology and that collaborative effort, not only in-house, but also with Western Michigan University. He said he called the professor that was helping, and the professor was happy, and he has a call coming up eventually with the students that helped kind of use that advanced technology to get to where we are today. So there's a lot of pride in being able to take this step and use that advanced technology to an advantage.
So going off of that, you may not know this, but did anyone from the sheriff's office say, now that they potentially solved this case, will they look into other cold cases moving forward?
Yeah, the real kind of vibe in there was just this case, and hey, we had this success, and let's keep moving, because right now it is just a suspect. So keep moving with this one, and then, but as you mentioned, it does bring up an interesting conversation for a later date of this advanced technology helped us with this one. How can it help us again eventually in the future?
Sure. Okay, so what is next for Kuhn? When will he be back in court?
Yeah, and I have it here just to make sure I get it exactly right, especially with this information. But March 4th is a probable cause conference, and March 11th is a pretrial or preliminary examination. And I do want to mention that the prosecuting attorney did tell us that she wouldn't be surprised if those dates were adjourned or pushed back because of the complexity and the severity of this case. There's a decent chance that those kind of get pushed back a little bit. But as of now, the schedule is March 4th and March 11th.
All right. Thank you so much, Cody, for that information and for joining us and walking us through what was talked about in the courtroom today. We will continue to follow this story, and if those court dates do change, we'll keep you posted, and I'm sure we plan on being there for those next court dates. Moving on to another story now across northern Michigan on a bit of a lighter note. It has been decades since passenger rail service ran through northern Michigan. And for more than a decade, multiple organizations have been trying to bring it back. And I'm sure you folks have heard this story before because it has been talked about for quite some time. So what will it take to actually make it a reality, and where does a plan stand today? I talked with multiple people over the past few weeks to get you some answers.
Everything really is about connecting communities.
That's the goal of Groundwork Center for Resilient Communities. One project the nonprofit is working on would literally connect communities across Michigan by passenger rail.
A project like this is really transformational. You really only see projects of this scale sometimes once, twice in a generation.
The proposed passenger rail service would stretch 240 miles, connecting Traverse City to Ann Arbor.
It's important to, not just focus on the two, the major ends, but who's in between.
Those in between communities include places like Cadillac, Clare, and Mount Pleasant.
The region in the northern part of Michigan is very important economically. It's very important for people in tourism. It's a really important part of the state.
Ease of travel here certainly allows people to visit Mount Pleasant, but it also allows people in Mount Pleasant to have an easier access to other tourist markets as well.
And with stops in places like Mount Pleasant, Elma, and Ann Arbor, this route could provide an easy way for college students to get to and from school.
I think it'd be a positive impact for an organization like Central Michigan University, which now students would be able to travel across the state much easier and be able to get to the university in a much easier fashion.
So what needs to happen to make this a reality?
That's where we are today, really looking in and diving into the details on how this would all play out operationally and infrastructure-wise too.
The good news is the tracks themselves already exist.
But since the state owns the track, they control the process. And so it makes it easier to get the service up and going.
But the tracks, which are currently used for freight, would need some upgrading to meet passenger rail safety standards.
Because you do want to travel at a higher speed to make it competitive with car travel.
And it means making all of the grade crossings along the way, the highway crossings, much safer. And then the last piece is actually building and hopefully in many cases rebuilding existing train stations to actually function again as a train station.
So this is a big project and it will take some time.
And some money.
So we don't have preliminary numbers yet, but that is on everyone's mind.
A 2018 study estimated the cost would be around $244 million. But
things have changed. Unfortunately, like everything in the infrastructure world, inflation has touched that. So we do expect that some costs are higher.
Lansing needs to be committed to spending the money to do it.
Would the state of Michigan be willing to provide funding to make this a reality?
I think it's a wonderful project. Love to have rail service, especially passenger service to Traverse City would be fantastic.
However, Representative John Roth says the state legislature has other priorities right now.
The new legislature coming in 25 is very much interested in fixing roads and putting investment into the roads. I wish I had more positive news. Unless the federal government comes in with a pot of money for us to do that.
Congressman Gary Peters has previously championed efforts to expand passenger rail service through Michigan.
I fully support it. We'll be working to get funding to be able to move forward.
But with Peters announcing he won't run for re-election in 2026, and with a new administration in the White House, any future federal funding is uncertain.
So it is kind of to be seen what the future holds.
So the reality of you hopping on a passenger train in Traverse City is still down the line.
My guess is we're still a decade away from a passenger rail.
This is not a project that will move quickly, but it's one that I hope that we're able to work on over the next few years and make it a reality.
Now, in 2018, a feasibility study was done for this project. That was phase 1. Now, currently the project is in phase 2. That's where different project partners are creating a detailed plan that will outline how the new train service would operate and identify the top infrastructure needs, and also get a more specific number of how much all this would cost and look for different options when it comes to funding. Now, I talked to Caroline Alstead from Groundworks, and she said that they might try to look for different innovative ways for funding. Of course, they're going to look to the state and federal government to get hopefully a good amount of funding, but they might have to get a little creative with the rest of the funding to make this project happen. Now, phase 2 is expected to be complete in 2025. And once that is done, all the data and information will then be used to determine how to move forward. Let's take a look at our question of the day related to this story. So, would you make use of a passenger train if it was available in northern Michigan? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you to our website where you can vote. Looks like we have 470 votes so far, and 84% are saying yes, 16% are saying no. And we also have a lot of Facebook comments, about 78 Facebook comments on this post right now. So we will take a look at some of those comments toward the end of the show. So head over to our Facebook page to join in on the conversation. You can also head to this live stream right now and leave a live comment. That'll make it a little easier for me to kind of go through all the comments at the end of the show. But let's take a quick break. We're going to check back in with our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. He'll have much more on Thursday's forecast and more details on this warm-up expected next.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
It's been an eventful couple of weeks winter weather-wise. Now things are finally starting to quiet down a little bit today. And Joe said by Friday, we all should see a break. But it's still really cold out. So Joe, when will we see that warm up?
Well, slowly coming in here. I think by Sunday we'll be in the 30s.
Oh my gosh, beautiful.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
A little melting maybe, just to maybe bring the snowbanks down a little bit.
Very helpful, yeah.
Yeah, and then some of that will hang around into next week, at least the early to mid part of next week. I haven't talked about this even at all tonight, even on the earlier newscast, but we might cool down again late next week. But
Sure.
a couple days warmer weather. Let's go to Cadillac. There it is, live look right downtown, where it is snowing a little bit, 16 degrees, the wind chill, it feels like temperature is 6 right now, but no major issues going on, and we don't really have any major weather systems anytime soon approaching either. There's the weather map tonight, big area of high pressure out in the Dakotas. It's quiet, but it is cold. Underneath that, you get sinking air, and the air cools, and well, all the way down to Wichita, and all the way up to the Dakotas, a cold one. In fact, here are the current kind of national temperatures tonight. Bismarck is at 0. Rapid City is at 4 below. And even down in Oklahoma City and northern Texas, it's in the teens and 20s tonight. So pretty chilly. And then there's Miami. It's always Miami, right? 82 temperature there. Here's our temperatures, a little more localized look. 9 at the Sioux, 10 at Mackinac Island, 12 at Sheboygan, Rogers City down to 10 degrees. But we just mentioned that warm up, so I want to jump ahead here. There's Saturday around 5 o'clock. We'll be in the 20s, teens and 20s. But there's Sunday. We had some 30s. There's next Monday. We're looking at 30s. Notice much of the area above freezing, so probably some melting early next week. And then Tuesday, 30s, even a couple 40s popping up on the map. So we are going to see some melting. and we'll take that right into the day on Wednesday with temperatures in the 30s then as well. So that's that warm up coming in. It's still a few days away. There's a little bit of snow out there tonight, not a lot. Here's radar. And you see that band of lake effect snow from Leelanau County right over Traverse City, that area, and then all the way to Houghton Lake, Lake City. Some of that snowfall this evening. There won't be a whole lot more. It'll get pushed near the lakeshore areas, near Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, before ending. And then we head into Friday with dry weather. There's Friday afternoon, mostly cloudy, and there's Saturday. See the wind out of the southwest, mostly cloudy skies Saturday too. If you're wondering about snow the next day or so, there's the lake effect right near Lake Michigan. Again, Frankfort kind of running down through Onekama, Manistee, Ludington. Best chances for a little bit of snowfall right there. There's your weekend forecast. Looks good. Mostly cloudy and quiet Saturday, 25 to around 30. And then Sunday, cloudy, but a bit warmer. The upcoming weekend, 32 to 39. Extended forecast, here it is. 30s by Sunday. And then the only real kind of day, could be a little messy, is Monday. We have a chance for some snow. It looks like that may, Maya, turn over to a little rain in the afternoon on Monday. Hard to believe we were in the single digits last Monday on President's Day and maybe a little rain the following Monday.
A lot can happen in 1 week in northern Michigan.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, Joe. We're going to take another break, but sports director Harrison Beebe will join us in just a few minutes with a rundown of what's going on in the world of sports today. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Let's turn things over to our sports director, Harrison Beebe, in the digital studio for a look at today's top sports stories. Harrison.
Busy night for high school basketball. In fact, our prime focus will be on the Ski Valley girls basketball race tonight. We have 3 teams at the top, all still with hopes of winning a conference championship by the end of it all. Gaylord St. Mary leads the way, but Inland Lake's right behind them, and East Jordan right behind them. We know the Snowbirds are going to face Central Lake tonight, and the Bulldogs and Red Devils are going to meet up as well. So we'll get you highlights from both those games tonight during Sports at 11. See if we can shake out some of the logjam at the top of the conference there. We know Inland Lakes and Gaylord St. Mary are also going to play one more time this season. To high school wrestling, where we know the team tournaments are going to shift to the quarterfinals this Friday down in Kalamazoo, and the Roscommon Bucks will be one of two Northern Michigan schools involved in the quarterfinals. It's their first trip down there in over a decade as the Bucks look to tackle the top seed Hudson in the Division IV state quarterfinals. And it's a big deal to head coach Drake Lewandowski. He was on the team when they last made the state quarterfinals over a decade ago, and he's excited to lead this group into a new opportunity, a team that's grown so much in just a few short years.
It feels real full circle being part of this and having us come back to this stage. I couldn't have done it without Gabe Stern, who was the assistant. We just kind of switched roles with me being in the school, but he got this program back from, we only had 6 kids 4 years ago, to winning districts the next year, winning districts the year after that, and losing in the regional finals both those years. And we finally made that leap to get back to team states.
So here's Friday's schedule. Roscommon and Charlevoix both competing in state quarterfinals. That will be at high noon on Friday down at Kalamazoo's Wings Event Center. Basketball getting interesting at the Big Ten level. Michigan State gets a huge win over Purdue, a rare one at that as well. And that puts the Spartans just a half a game back of Michigan as the two are set to clash Friday night in Ann Arbor. The Big Ten gets more and more interesting by the weekend. MSU and Michigan at the top of the standings now as we enter the final 2 weeks of the regular season. That'll do it for sports. I'm Harrison Beebe.
It's hard to believe we're already in the last few weeks of the regular basketball season, but I know I'm certainly excited for March Madness. I'm sure a lot of folks at home are as well. All right, let's take a quick break, but we will check in with the live results for a question of the day and a few of your comments coming up next.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Our question of the day today: would you make use of a passenger train if it was available in northern Michigan? 84% are saying yes, only 16% say no. It's about 505 votes on Facebook. I'm trying to see why people would say no. The only no comment I could see is from Bob. And Bob says on a regular basis, no, but once in a while, maybe for a trip, but not regularly. And Michelle says, as my husband and I age, we hope to continue traveling. Train would be a perfect option when driving becomes too dangerous. That'll do it for Unscripted tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Take care, everyone.